Hi guys, just another little video to go over lesson 2 and to get ready for lesson 3. Hope everybody's doing well. We're starting a new week here. So without further ado, here we go. Let me see if I can get this into full screen. There we go. I'm almost as techie as the average 6th grader here. Okay, so these, if you remember back to last week, this is the work that you guys completed on turning expressions into verbal models and verbal models into expressions. So being able to go back and forth between math and words, which has been a big focus for us this year. So these 10 questions, I think were probably pretty basic for us. From looking over our work as a group, most of us picked the correct operation. If I had to pick one thing to focus on that tripped us up a little bit, it was definitely that word than. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So for number 1, 6 more than 4. And you'll see my note here in red. I will be sending this to you guys and returning your documents so that you can compare your work with my answers here. But you're going to see 6 more than 4. So technically, when we see that word than, T-H-A-N, that's a comparison word. And anytime you see that, you want to switch the terms in your expression, which we know are the parts, the constants, the variables from our lesson 1. So technically 6 more than 4, we know more than is addition. So we would switch that around as 4 plus 6. Now, does that mean that 4 plus 6 is the only correct answer? No, not at all. And we know that 6 plus 4 would be just as correct. So for addition, it's not really a big deal if we remember to notice that word than and switch our terms because of the commutative property. So we remember from this year that the commutative property says we can switch the terms in an addition or multiplication problem. So for this one, doesn't really seem like too big of a deal to just put 4 plus 6 or 6 plus 4. Now, where it does become more important that we notice this word than is number 2. So 7 less than 15. We know less than indicates subtraction. That table in the beginning of our notes here in this document is, cut out of our textbook. So we do want to make sure we're familiar with these key words. So we know it's subtraction, but then we have to remember to switch the order of our terms. So it's not going to be 7 minus 15. The than means that the 7 comes out from the 15. So we have to switch it around to 15 minus 7. Okay, number 3, 3 times a number x. I did see some people put 3 and a multiplication sign and an x. Now when you're typing, that's a little bit tricky because it does look like an x right next to an x. So, we talked about this year, what are some ways to get around that? One way is to use a dot. Sometimes when we type, people will use a little star symbol like on the 8 key. But the best way to do this is to just say 3x, because we know when things are right next to each other in math, it means multiplication. And that 3 is then a coefficient, like we learned or reviewed, not learned, you guys are experts in this by now. We reviewed in lesson 1 that 3 becomes the coefficient. Okay, so 3 times the number x. The best way to do that to get us ready for algebra in the next couple years is just 3x. Okay, number 4, the quotient. We know quotient is division, so the quotient of m and 4. Now in this case, because it's division, the order does matter. So we have to go in the order that the terms are listed in that verbal model. So we know it's division, and then because it says the quotient of m and 4, then it has to be m divided by 4. So I showed that to you 3 different ways: m divided by 4, m over 4, or m divided by sine 4. It will not work to have it the other way around. The 4 cannot be the first number, the dividend, or the top, the numerator of the fraction. So after once we go through these 10 or 11 questions, I am going to show you guys quickly how to type in math on Google Docs. I think that might help a little bit as far as showing your work. So we'll go through these kind of quick. Number 5 is similar to number 3, the product of 8 and p, so 8p. Number 6 is also multiplication. Twice is one of those words we know means 2 times, so not just multiplication, but specifically multiplying by 2, so 2x. Number 7, decreased by, and I've kind of put some of these words into a different color, which might be a good strategy for you too. So we have y minus 10. It does not say than anywhere in number 7, so we do not switch it. That's one thing I want to make sure we're clear too. It's not every time you have a subtraction problem that you switch the terms. It's only when we see that comparison word than. So we don't switch it every time for subtraction, just these special cases, like number 8. So 7 fewer than k, fewer meaning subtraction, but we have to switch it, so k minus 7. Number 9, the total of a number c and 3, pretty straightforward. That's the sum or total addition, c plus 3. And the difference of 11 and d, we don't see that comparison word, so 11 minus d. Okay, and then that brings us to number 11, and this is similar to one of the problems that you would see in your PSSA practice packet, which you don't need to be working on right now. We'll come back to that later, but it does have some good problems in there. So Leonard runs his pet sitting service. He charges $20 a day. And on top of that, there's almost some extra information there about the 3 walks and 2 feedings. We don't really need to know that. And they didn't really try to trick you too much either, because they didn't put 2s or 3s down in the choices below. So $20 a day and $5 for each extra walk, which expression describes how much he would charge at the end. So if we look through our choices, A and B should stand out as kind of being weird, because that's saying 20 times a walk, and nowhere in there did it say 20 times a walk. It was 20 a day. So we kind of can eliminate A and B right away. And then if we look at C and D, that's $20 a day plus $5 a walk, or $25 plus a walk. And D doesn't make really much sense, because you're adding at that point dollars and walks. And that's not something that you would do to get a total cost. So in other words, it has to be choice C. And I do have some extra explanation for you here. So just some quick problems, guys, to keep us thinking and practicing our explanations here. I'm going to hit pause and then shoot over to show you writing in equations on Google Docs. And let me see if I paused it. Okay, so next thing I'm going to show you guys something I'm actually kind of learning and working on myself. We have lots of time these days to do that. So how to kind of type math into Google Docs, which is where we're doing a lot of our work. So as this progresses, I do want to see what you guys are doing. And instead of having you retype some things that might be tricky, this might help us out. So I'm just in a regular Google Doc right now, and then you're going to go to Insert, and then where it says Equation, and then it pops up a couple different choices for us. So in this first one, there's some Greek letters for fun. So looks like ancient Greek to me. And then in the second box, we have some more of the symbols that we would typically work with. So one that would be really helpful for you guys potentially is the division sign. So that's there. There are some fraction pieces. There's our symbol for perpendicular, the infinity sign. Let's see, probably most of the good stuff there. And of course, we just talked about the dot for multiplication. That would be this black dot right here. In the second one, or the third section right here, we have some of our inequality symbols. We don't get into all of these, but we do know our less than, or greater than, or equal to. We have our similar symbol, our not equal symbol, our congruent symbol, and so on. So there's some good stuff. Now in this section, the one that I wanted to point out to you is this fraction. So it says A over B, but I'm going to click that. And just like our calculators at school, it pops up 2 spaces for you. One's a numerator and one's a denominator. For some reason, it always makes it really small, so I'm just going to highlight it and see if it'll let me make it bigger. Sometimes it won't until you type. So I'm just going to type in 12 over, bear with me here, 12 over 24. And then to make it a little bit bigger to see it, highlight it, and nope, that wasn't it. So it's a little weird. I'd like to think it's glitchy and not just me. But this was helpful, for example, when I was trying to type some more multi-step equations for you guys that we'll be seeing, over the next couple days. So anyway, there's something where you could type whatever you want. I just picked 12 over 24, but you could type A over B, or you could type something like, when we get into exponents and order of operations, you could type 2 times 3 on the top, almost like an expression within an expression, and so on. We don't really get into this last column too much. That's just some of the different arrows you might see more in geometry. But anyway, for the foreseeable future, there's some basic keys we can kind of get used to here. And it kind of puts it in this little blue box right here. So it's a little weird if you go to copy and paste it, but it does let you type whatever you want. So keep that in mind, guys, when you're showing me your work, because I do would like to see your work. And then at the end, I would just remind you again to make sure that you turn it in. Some of us are still forgetting to turn it in, which just helps for kind of keeping track of what everybody's up to these days. If you have any questions, I hope you guys will reach out to me. I think this is a skill that I see a lot of strengths in. But if you do have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email. We also have the problem of the week is back and due on Friday, and now there is lots of time for you to work on it. The winner receives an Amazon gift card. That's in your student Gmail from me. You guys have the inside scoop here. So check that out, and I would be happy to look over your work before you officially submit that too, and maybe give you guys a little boost. So with that being said, I hope we have a great week, and I look forward to seeing all the Google Slides that you make for the Pride team. And now I have to figure out how to turn this off. Let's see.